Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something huge for businesses. How do you actually build growth that's, scalable and predictable?
Yeah, and it's so common, isn't it? The first thought is often, okay, let's just hire a brilliant growth marketer.
Right.
Problem solved.
Right. The magic bullet hire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the sources we're looking at today, they really push back on that. They make it super clear that growth isn't just one person's job title.
It's a process, a collaboration.
Totally.
Yeah.
A single hire, no matter how amazing, isn't going to fix everything if the underlying system isn't there. It's just not a magic bullet.
That's such a good starting point for this because that idea that one person can swoop in and fix all your growth problems, it's tempting, but, well, it's a bit of a fantasy, isn't it?
It really is.
Sustainable growth, the kind that scales. The material we're digging into says it needs a repeatable process, it needs buy-in from the top, and crucially, that cross-functional setup before you even think about bringing in that rock star.
So our mission today is to unpack that blueprint you shared. We're basically looking at three main things. First, getting the language right. What is growth, actually? Second, how do you lay the groundwork, thinking about your go-to-market motion? And then finally, the nuts and bolts, this 10-step process for making growth predictable.
Okay, let's start with the language because honestly, terms get thrown around a lot. Marketing, growth hacking. People use them almost interchangeably.
You do, and it causes confusion, especially when you're trying to build a team and a process. So let's clarify. Think of traditional marketing, right? That's usually focused way up at the top of the funnel. Awareness, getting people in the door. Their metrics are often leads, signups, maybe cost per lead.
And it's often campaign-based, like short bursts.
Exactly. Campaign-driven, often shorter-term focus. Now, growth, that's a bigger picture.
Right.
It's about optimizing the whole customer journey. From that first hello all the way through to making money and keeping customers happy, referring others.
So it's not just marketing's job.
No way. It has to be cross-functional. You need product involved, engineering, data people, sales, everyone. And the metrics reflect that depth. We're talking daily active users, LTV, ARR, much more holistic.
I like the example you mentioned earlier. Marketing celebrates 10,000 signups, and the growth team immediately asks, okay, but how many actually finished setting up their profile?
Precisely. That's the mindset shift. It's about the outcome, not just the initial action.
So where do growth marketing and growth hacking fit in then?
Good question. Growth marketing sort of bridges the gap. It takes traditional marketing skills, but applies them with rapid, data-driven testing across different channels and sometimes product features, too. It's quite methodical.
Okay. Discipline experimentation.
Yeah. And then growth hacking is often seen as a subset of that. It's the more scrappy, creative side.
Finding those clever, low-cost ways to get users, maybe using viral loops.
Exactly. Unconventional tactics, often very focused on acquisition or retention loops, highly experimental. But the big takeaway here, whether you call the person a hacker or a marketer, is the organization needs the right culture and setup for them to succeed. Otherwise, they'll just flounder.
Which leads us perfectly into laying that foundation. Okay, we understand what growth means now, but where does a leader even begin building this kind of team or capability?
Well, the sources are pretty emphatic about this. It starts with identifying your core go-to-market motion, your GTM.
Why is that the absolute first step?
Because it fundamentally shapes everything. Who you hire, how your website looks, what your sales team does, what your product needs to do on its own. It all flows from how you primarily acquire and keep customers.
And there are basically three main flavors of GTM.
That's right. Three main paths. First up, the one everyone talks about now, product-led GPM or PLG.
Where the product itself does the heavy lifting for attracting and keeping users.
Exactly. Think freemium models, free trials. The idea is users get real value before they pay anything.
And you can usually spot these companies pretty easily, right? Their websites look a certain way.
Oh, definitely. Big sign-up free buttons, super smooth onboarding that you can do yourself, simple pricing, lots of help docs and FAQs. Think Slack, Canva, Figma. They're built for self-service.
Okay, so that's PLG. What's the opposite end of the spectrum?
That would be sales-led GTM or SLG. This is the more traditional approach, relying heavily on salespeople building relationships, finding leads, demoing the product, and closing deals.
This feels like it would be for more complex, expensive products.
Generally, yes. When the product is intricate, needs customization, or has a really high price point, you often need that human touch from sales. Think enterprise software like Salesforce, SSP, maybe AWS for large contracts.
And their websites reflect that too. Less, sign up more.
More, contact us or request a demo. Pricing might be hidden or require a custom quote. Marketing focuses on things like white papers and case studies to arm the sales team.
But isn't SLG kind of slow and expensive to scale, especially early on?
It can be. Absolutely. That's the trade-off. It's necessary for certain types of high-value complex sales where the lifetime value of the customer justifies the higher acquisition cost. You wouldn't sell a multi-million-dollar ERP system with just a free trial button.
Fair point. Okay, so PLG on one side, SLG on the other. What's in the middle?
The hybrid GTM. And honestly, this is where a lot of companies, especially as they scale, end up landing.
So a mix of both.
Yeah, you keep the user-friendliness and self-service aspects, maybe for smaller customers or simpler use cases.
Yeah.
But you also have a sales team ready to step in for bigger deals, enterprise clients, or more complex needs.
Like a HubSpot or maybe Zoom, you can sign up and pay online easily, but they definitely have sales teams for larger accounts.
Exactly. Their websites often show this blend clearly. Tiered pricing, easy sign-up paths, but also ways to talk to sales. The crucial thing is you have to consciously choose your primary motion and then align your team structure to that. Mismatches here cause huge problems.
Right. You can't just say you're PLG, but have a website that forces everyone to talk to sales.
Or vice versa. So once you've nailed down that GTM, then you can think about the team structure.
And the sources emphasize this team has to be cross-functional, right? It's not a silo.
Absolutely non-negotiable. You need product engineering, data, marketing, maybe sales ops, all working together. But just having the right roles isn't enough. You need the right operating philosophy. Leadership has to build what the sources call a growth mindset.
Okay, tell me about that. What does that mindset involve?
It boils down to 4 key ideas that leadership needs to champion. First is learning, constant learning, from customers, from experiments that fail, from the market changing.
Got it. Always learning. What's second?
Rhythm. You need a regular cadence, consistent meetings, testing cycles, analysis periods. It gives the whole growth effort a heartbeat, keeps the momentum going.
Makes sense. Avoids fits and starts. Number 3.
Autonomy. This is a big one. Giving the growth teams or pods the freedom to figure out how they're going to hit their goals. You ditch the micromanagement that just kills productivity, especially for engineers.
So trust the team to find the solutions.
Yes. Which leads directly to number 4, accountability. If you give teams autonomy, they also have to own the results. But it's accountability for outcomes, not blame. If a test fails, the question isn't whose fault is it, but what did we learn? Why did it fail?
Because failure is just data in this model.
Exactly. It's a crucial data point for the next iteration.
Okay, so we've got the GTM defined, the cross-functional team structure, and the right mindset fostered by leadership.
Now we get to the engine room, right? The actual process.
Right. This is the 10-step method the sources lay out for creating that growth machine, one that's explicitly scalable, predictable, and repeatable. This is the day-to-day blueprint.
Let's walk through it. Steps 1 and 2 seem like the setup phase.
They are. Step 1, find livers. Identify which part of the funnel you're focusing on. The courses list 5 main ones: acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue.
AARR metrics, essentially. Pretty much. And step 2, set objectives. Once you know your lever, you set a clear, measurable goal. SMART goals, basically, like increase user activation, defined as completing onboarding by 20% in Q3.
Clear, measurable, time-bound. Got it. What's step 3?
Explore data. This is critical. You need to understand the why behind your objective. And the sources stress using 3 types of data. First, the obvious one, quantitative data. Your numbers. Conversion rates, drop-offs, revenue per user,
Right.
so Google Analytics, Mixpanel, etc.
Right. But that's not enough. Second, you need qualitative data. This is the why. User surveys, customer interviews, support ticket themes, watching session recordings with tools like Hotjar or Full Story.
Understanding the human behavior behind the clicks.
Exactly. And the third type, which I find really interesting, is intuitive data.
Intuitive, what does that mean? Gut feelings. Not quite just gut feelings, though experience plays a role. It means looking outside your own data, too. What are the industry trends? What are competitors doing? Are there new technologies emerging? It's about context. Maybe a competitor just launched something that makes your current approach obsolete, or a new social platform pops up offering a cheap acquisition channel. It prevents you from getting tunnel vision on just your own spreadsheets.
Okay, that makes sense. Look inward and outward. So once you have all that data...
Step 4, brainstorm and backlog. Generate ideas based on everything you've learned. The sources suggest structured ways to do this. simple observation, asking why, or what if. Making connections like, what if we treated user activation like a sales closing process? And talking to others in the field. Get lots of ideas down.
But you can't act on all of them, which leads to...
Step 5, prioritize. This is where the rubber meets the road. You need a system. The framework championed here is the ICE framework.
ICE. Okay, break that down for us.
Sure. IC stands for impact, confidence, and effort. You score each potential growth project or experiment on these 3 factors, typically on a scale of 1 to 10.
So impact is how big a difference you think this idea will make if it works.
Yep. High score means high potential impact on your objective. Confidence is how sure you are, based on the data you gathered, that this idea will actually work. Again, high score is better.
Okay, impact and confidence, higher is better. What about effort? That sounds like how much work it takes.
It is, but here's the slightly tricky part you have to remember. For effort, a higher score means it's easier to do.
Wait, say that again. Higher score means less effort.
Exactly. It's counterintuitive if you think of effort as difficulty. Think of it as ease. Score it a 1 and it's a massive project needing tons of resources. Score it a 10 and you could probably knock it out this afternoon.
Ah, okay. So if I have 2 ideas with equally high impact and confidence, I should prioritize the one with the higher effort score because it's the easier win.
Precisely. ICE pushes you towards quick wins and helps you compare apples and oranges by giving you a total score, max 30. The highest ICE score gets tested first.
Got it. That's a really practical prioritization tool. So after ICE, we test.
Yep, step 6 and 7, test and implement. Step 6, test V1, is your initial small-scale experiment, usually run for a limited time, like 30 days. And critically, you need a clear hypothesis before you start.
Like, if we do X, we predict Y metric will change by Z% because of data insight.
Exactly that format. You need the because, then, if the test works.
Step 7, implement V2.
Right. You scale it up, run it for longer, maybe 60 or 90 days, integrate it more fully, and confirm the results hold true at scale.
Okay, test small, then implement wider if successful. What about learning from all this?
That's steps 8 and 9. Step 8 is analyze. After a test or implementation period, you document what happened. Was it a success or failure compared to the hypothesis? What was the actual impact versus what you predicted in the ICE score? And importantly, do a why analysis or postmortem. Why did it work? Why did it fail? Why was our confidence score wrong?
Closing the loop. And step 9 seems crucial for making this repeatable.
It is. Systemize.
Yeah.
If an initiative was successful, you can't just rely on remembering it or having one person know how it works. You need to build it into the system. The sources suggest 2 main ways.
Okay.
First, if possible, you productize it. Use technology, engineering, automation. Build that successful onboarding flow into the product itself. Set up automated email sequences based on user behavior. Make it part of the machine.
So use tech to lock in the gains. What if you can't automate it?
Then you create playbooks. Detailed, step-by-step documentation for processes. How to run effective user interviews, the checklist for launching a content marketing campaign, the script for handling a specific type of support query. Anyone on the team can pick up the playbook and execute the successful process reliably.
Productize or playbook. That really embeds the learning. Okay, what's the final step?
Step 10. Run periodic growth sprints. This keeps the engine running smoothly. Think short, regular review meetings, maybe weekly or bi-weekly, 30-60 minutes.
What do you review in those sprints? Just the test results?
Not just the results, but the health of the growth process itself.
Mm-hmm.
You look at metrics about the machine, like throughput, how many experiments are we actually running? Batting average, what's our ratio of successful test to failures? Are we learning? And accuracy, are our confidence scores in the ICE framework getting better over time? Are we getting better at predicting what will work?
Wow, okay, so it's a meta-analysis of the process itself.
Exactly. It ensures the machine stays tuned and effective.
This whole 10-step process, from the GTM alignment and mindset through the ICE framework and ending with productized playbook and sprints, it really does sound like a blueprint for taking the chaos out of growth.
It aims to. It shifts focus from hoping for silver bullets to building a reliable engine. It forces prioritization, prevents teams from getting overwhelmed, and makes sure learnings actually stick and scale.
So, recapping the big takeaways. Think team and process, not just a single hire. Nail your GTM motion first. Foster that mindset of learning, rhythm, autonomy, and accountability. And then run that disciplined 10-step process using ICE and systemization.
That's the core of it.
So as people listening think about their own companies, what's the final thought you want to leave them with?
Well, it comes back to that GTM motion. I'd challenge you to really reflect. Look at your website, look at your internal processes right now. Given the three options, product-led, sales-led, hybrid, which model do you actually operate under today? And then compare that to the model you think you have, or the one you're trying to achieve. Where's the gap? Is your website screaming self-service PLG, but your internal team is structured entirely around sales demos? Or are you trying to be sales-led, but your product isn't quite complex enough to justify it?
Find the misalignment.
Find that misalignment between your strategy and your reality, because that's probably where your biggest growth friction lies, and that's the perfect place to start applying this systematic ICE process.
That's a fantastic practical challenge, a great place to start digging. Thanks so much for breaking down this growth machine blueprint with us.
My pleasure. Lots to think about.
Definitely. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.